Hi everyone, I'm Jim Graham and I'll be your professor for GSP 470-570. I'm in the Canvas homepage, which is home base, and that's where you'll want to go for information on the class. It does say GSP 570 and has the CNRS code for GSP 570. What I've done there is combined 470 and 570 together. They're two separate classes in the schedule, but they're going to be taught as one class. There will be differences if you're enrolled in 470 versus 570 though, because 570 is of course a graduate level class. So don't worry if you just see 570 and you're in 470, you're in the right place. Okay, please go to Canvas and go to the home page and check it out. Again, this will be home base, and I know this looks a little different. This is the instructor view. You'll get a student view of it. There is another website that we'll be using. This contains the content for the class, and we'll be basically going through each of these learning modules week by week as we go through the class. But the main week by week material is here in the modules. So because we're online, I've rolled modules into Canvas, and we'll be going through these modules, and you'll see there's lots of videos for you to go through, including this one. So really quickly, we'll also be using this website, which is an R website that I've created, and a bunch of other resources. We're going to be doing spatial modeling. There's a lot of resources out there, and part of being a spatial modeler is being able to get to all that material. We will be meeting regularly on Zoom, and I'll talk a little about that. So here's the link for the Zoom meeting every Tuesday, Thursday. And then I just want to make sure we acknowledge that we sit on traditional Wiyot land about here, so we're actually in the area called Wiki. And thanks to them for that. Okay, so on to the syllabus. Again, 470-570 spatial modeling. We will have online discussions 11 to 12 in Zoom. Homepage has the link. Please go to those unless you absolutely can't, because we'll be doing a lot of discussion there. So in other words, I want you to do the weekly material, but then we'll have discussions every Tuesday and Thursday to talk about specific issues in modeling, especially challenging ones, and also to answer any questions you have. Office hours are email. Email me. Don't hesitate to email me in the class. If we need to meet, spend a little more time, besides the Tuesday 30 meeting, we'll just set it up. And if you guys want me to set up regular office hours, I will do that as well. Office hours are at Zoom. We won't have any face-to-face meetings this semester. I don't really need them for this class. We can do everything pretty much online. Okay, so you do need to have some GIS background and some background in statistics for this class. The class moves fairly quickly. So you'll need to have that GIS background and some stats background, not a lot of statistics, because we'll go back over things like linear regression and normal curves and stuff like that, but you need some. Here's the course descriptions. Here's the real description of it. And just a note that for 570, there'll basically be two extra components. My plan is to have you lead research teams. We'll see how that works. But the other piece is the homework that you turn in will have citations, and your final product will need to have citations from literature reviews. And then you'll also be leading a discussion in class. So those are the differences between 470 and 570. We're going to be doing modeling, so it's going to be about selecting the appropriate modeling approach for different problems and data sets. Construct, parameterize, test spatial models, validate those models, and then talk about the different principles, formal inference and learning theory, fancy stuff like that. Okay, there's a book that I recommend, Spatial Data Analysis in Ecology and Agriculture using R. We will be using R a lot. You'll learn a lot about R. R is very powerful, a little intimidated at times and a little bit hard to use, but we'll get through that and we'll work together and get everybody up and running on R. But look, spatial analysis in ecology and agriculture using R. This is like a book for this class. I don't require it because the book is pretty dense. I do recommend it, go through it, but it's from Davis and an ecology graduate level course there, so it's good to have on your shelf. as is Model Selection, Multi-Model Inference. This is a classic modeling book, probably the best one to have sitting on your shelf, and a little bit more approachable than plants, but not for spatial analysis and ecology. How to Lie with Statistics is another one to have on your shelf. Little short book that's just great to read. There's also one called How to Lie with Maps. It's also very fun. And then some other books, all of which are excellent. Model-Based Inference in Life Sciences is kind of the lighter version of Model Selection and Multi-Model Inference by Anderson. And then there's lots of good books out there, and we'll talk more about these. Website. So again, this is the main website, but use the modules in Canvas as your guide, and then the R websites. Instead of doing midterms and finals, we will have quizzes and projects. Don't worry too much about your project yet, except you may want to start looking at data, because if you have data, we can almost always do the modeling components and finish a project. If we don't have the data, can't do it, got to find a different project, okay? And that's going to be a significant part of this class. In fact, that's going to be 40% is going to be the project, so quite a bit. The other big piece is the lab assignments. There will be quizzes every week. They're basically there to help you with the reading and make sure you're getting the key concepts, but fairly small portion of the grade. And then there's professionalism, which I'll talk about in a sec. Grading is 90s is A or A's, 80s are B's, 70s are C's, 60s are D's, below that are F's. Most folks do pretty well in this class, but some folks really struggle, especially when they fall behind. If you fall behind, please let me know and get help. That's the only way to really fail in this class, is if you fall behind and then have trouble catching up. And of course, with everything going on, we've got to make sure we all work together and keep everybody up to date. Okay, assignments are every week. I do take off for being late. I'm a little flexible with it, but basically take off 30%. Now the thing is that you can turn in an assignment that's partially done, and then later on, if you want, you can turn it in again and get up to half the number of points back. Okay, now, I do that because what I want you to do is turn in whatever you have. When the assignment's due, turn it in, get it in, start on the next assignment. Again, that's to keep you from falling behind. Okay, so please do that, and then later on, especially over breaks like spring break, if you have some time to catch up, go back, do the assignments, fix up assignments you've had previously, and I'll give you up to half the points back. Okay, there are some opportunities for extra credit, but I really want folks to focus on getting the assignments in first instead. Please be on time. All of this is for in-person stuff, but the same thing apply to online. Please don't just leave. Please leave your video on unless you're having trouble with internet performance. Please write emails in English with a nice salutation and a signature. Make sure you have a good subject line so I can scan through my emails and find yours. If it's something urgent, put urgent in the subject line so I can see that. I get a couple hundred emails per day, so I tend to just scan them, and I may fall behind if I miss yours. Do good work. If you can't, let me know why, and turn in whatever you have. I'm very flexible and very supportive. Okay? Please participate, right? Especially when we're online, it's easy to get distracted. Try and participate. I do not mind having kids running around and animals walking in front of the video. That's not a big deal, and I understand that's part of working from home. But I want you to be there and be engaged, okay? If you have kids and animals and other noise going on, that's fine. Just mute your microphone most of the time, okay? Valid excuses. So these are valid excuses for being late on assignments. Serious illness, death in the family, having to care for a family member with a serious illness, military service, professional conference, and professional field work. These are not valid excuses. These are ones I've had in the past, and they're not. And what I'm doing here is I'm really modeling a professional environment. I've worked in the commercial world with government and with also now with academia, and I can tell you the things that they'll kind of find as being acceptable and things they won't. So please don't try to use these as valid excuses, okay? All right, so I do want you to work together. I want you to support each other, help each other out on assignments. What I don't want you to do is copy material from one of the other students and put it into something that has just your name on it. Most of the assignments will be individually based. Some of them will be team based. If you do it together as a team, then you need to put everybody's name on it, and that's fine. But if it's your work, it needs to be just your work, with the exception that we copy material from websites. It's a big part of doing modeling, copying data. We're copying R scripts. We don't copy a whole lot for our reports, but once in a while a quote. Make sure you cite all of those sources. That way I know where it came from, and you're not committing plagiarism, okay? Usually don't have much problem with this. Okay, so this can be a challenging class. I've had students tell me this was the most challenging class they took. Most students also find it to be extremely valuable. Putting modeling on your resume is something that will help you with your career, as well as help you to do really cool stuff with solving problems in natural resources. So to be successful, you got to ask others for help. R is finicky. It's actually a programming language. Programming languages are really hard to guess what the programming language wants, so we need to use online resources. When we get stuck, we've got to be able to get help. That's what I do. I don't try to guess what a function name is or what parameters should be. I go find an example on the web usually, or I email somebody. So please do that. When you get stuck, try a different approach. Keep trying different approaches. Again, except when it comes to things like what the name of a function is or what parameters need to be. Those we need to find documentation for them. One of the techniques I use is that if there's something I don't like doing, which for me is usually grading homework, which I don't find very fun. I don't like marking people down. So what I'll do is I'll take a chunk of homework, I'll grade it for a few hours, and then I'll go give myself a small reward, like chocolate or going to a movie or for a walk or something. I'll take a break. So that way I break it up and I reward myself, and that way I stay encouraged and feel like I'm supporting myself to get through it. And I think that's really important now, dealing with just an online environment where we don't get together. Okay, if you get really frustrated in front of the computer, please don't just sit there being frustrated. The assignments are going to be due at midnight on Sunday because students have requested that. The danger there is if you start on Friday and then you can't get a hold of anyone over the weekend, and by Sunday night you've spent all weekend beating on the assignment, you haven't got it done, you're going to be really frustrated. You've got to take breaks. You've got to start early so you can get help and have that time to work through these assignments, okay? So a key is getting started early, all right? And then if you get stuck, don't just lock up in front of the computer. Okay, and check the internet. We won't really have a TA that can help with this class. It's pretty much just us, because this is the highest geospatial class offered at Humboldt State. So it's the internet, me, and each other in class, okay? So make sure to put your name and current date on all documents you turn in. Every semester I get a few documents that don't have names on them. Okay, it just happens. Please try and avoid it. I will mark you down for that. 20 minutes is the longest you should try to solve a problem before you get help. Okay, don't get locked up. Don't turn in late assignments. Turn in whatever you have and keep going, and then come back and turn it in again. Work in teams, but do individual work, and then cite everything you use from other sources. Now, this is where they've put all the rest of the syllabus resources, including lots of resources on campus. If you struggle with something like writing, which I struggle with writing, used to a lot, and I got some good help on it, and that allowed me to become a professor and get a PhD. So if you use those resources, I'm sure you will do fine. I'm one of your first resources, but then there's lots of other resources on campus to help you be successful. Okay, so then just really quickly, again, we have the assignments, lots of videos, including this one, and then quizzes each week. Please go through the videos and the quizzes, and then there'll be assignments. This is our first assignment for the first week, and there's another YouTube. And some of these I will say for fun, or I will say optional. That's because they're just things that I've added. Like folks wanted to know how to calculate a p-value. Here's a cool website that shows you how to do that, as well as some Star Wars Legos shopping that I was looking at. Okay, so We'll use this for grades. We won't use discussions a lot. We will use a Google group for that, which hopefully you've already gotten an email for it. All right, looking forward to see all of you on Tuesday. Oh, yes. So Tuesday at 11 o'clock. And again, you should have a calendar invite for that. And here is our Zoom link for that. See you all then.